Some of the ways that I self-sabotage my healing, I kind of didn't believe in myself at some point. I started listening to what other people were saying. So I lost motivation in my drive and what I wanted. So I could have reached my goals a little bit earlier, but it took me a while to kind of get out of that slump that I was in. And then another part or another way that I self-sabotage was definitely drinking alcohol. I would I wouldn't notice that I was drinking a lot until I started waking up and feeling really bad. And I was like, okay, I'm drinking too much. And I had to get to the root of why I was doing that. And I realized that's part of my self-sabotaging. It's definitely like unmotivation and alcohol.
So, some of the ways I have self-sabotaged is like choosing bad friends and like romantic partners that just weren't good for me. I just didn't have value enough in myself to have awareness of like red flags and things. And then as they happened, that things didn't started not working, I would stick with it and try to like push through because I didn't care about myself enough to like pull myself out of the situation when I knew it was affecting me. And also jobs as well. I would be in negative environments that it was like I was just trying to prove myself that I could survive this, I guess. It's like, I can make it work. I can make it work, even though the people around me were not good for me. And it just kept me in this like spiral loop that just never let me heal for a lot of years. And then at some points, yeah, recently, I get really emotionally exhausted with just life as it has happened. Those situations I mentioned, like they piled up, and then I would do things that I didn't have as much success as I would have liked as well. And so just the like just feeling guilty and exhausted of just not reaching my potential, I would notice that, but then I wouldn't have energy to do anything to help myself. And I was learning strategies about, how I can do meditation or go to therapy or talk to people, but I just don't have the energy sometimes to even do the things that I know would be right and get me out of the funk. I dove deep into depression and a lot of like really negative, like even suicidal periods where I didn't feel like anything mattered at the time. Like I didn't matter enough to try to like get myself out of it. And then I would avoid doing it by trying to help fix everybody around me. I would focus so much on everyone else has something going on and I have to save everyone. And I never took the time to like really save myself. And I'm really trying to come out of that now and just remind myself like, you stop trying to save the world. You need to save yourself first. And I really just always try to help people the way that I felt like I wasn't helped or that I didn't get support. And maybe if I do that, I'll feel better. But ultimately, it just takes away from me. So now I'm really trying to focus on my own healing instead of others.
I find myself self-sabotaging the most when I'm triggered. I think when my PTSD is really in full gear, and it could be somebody saying something like 10 hours ago, and then it sits in and it just sits on my head and I'm triggered. And that's when I find myself almost like verbal vomiting and being emotional. And again, like Kristen said, with the energy, I just can't find the energy. So then I just like, I want to say this with being kind to myself. It's almost like I'm like wallowing, like I'm like stuck in this like, oh, like not a poor me, but like, how come this is happening and this is happening and the world's so stupid? And like, I do this whole thing. And then finally I get to this point where I'm like, okay, Sonia, this is not what's going on. Like I kind of got to work through it through my head, and then I got to pick up where I left off. But I've also learned to not be so negative to myself either. Like even if I've missed a few days and I didn't get something done, I'm not so hard on myself like I used to be. But when I do self-sabotage, I'd be like, oh, I didn't get this and this done. and I'd be hard on myself. I feel like I failed at something, but now I've learned it's one day at a time, and it happens to all of us, and it's okay. I can pick up the pieces even if it was supposed to happen on Monday. It's okay that I'm doing it on the following Monday.
So I can totally relate to Sonia and understand that the triggered state, it becomes this totally autopilot, like you said, word vomit. And then like when I come out of it, I feel like I blacked out and I'm just like, why did I just do and say all those things to this person who I care about, or even to myself? And then I feel like shit, and I'm like, oh my God, where did that come from? And it definitely is in a triggered state. So that does happen to me as well. And a lot of what happens when I self-sabotage is when I feel like I'm affecting someone else. So like if something is important to me, or I have an opinion or a thought about something, and then it doesn't sit right, or it bothers or affects someone else, it's hard for me to stay true to what I need when that person gets either emotional or defensive, and they start getting upset, and then I'm like, oh, okay, forget about me. Whatever you need, like I'll do that, and I do have this battle where I still care about myself, so I try to like fight with them a little bit, but ultimately I'll give up and I'll take the L. I'll like sacrifice myself because I'd rather not deal with the stress that comes with someone else's reaction to me. And that has been a huge thing, is like caring enough about myself to stick with it, even if it affects or if someone reacts to it. It's really been challenging. So I would just, you know, give up on what I need. And now I see like other people are going through their own stuff and they get triggered and, get affected in their own way, but I still need to be solid and secure in myself and what my needs are. And that has always been a challenge, since, the abuse for me was like, I was an object, I didn't matter. And so I really learned to see myself that way. Like I don't matter. My feelings don't matter. What I think doesn't matter. What I say doesn't matter. And so when people react to me that way, I'm like, okay, you're reminding me that my opinion and my thoughts are wrong. So let me stop and go back into my hole, my shell. And I feel this like restriction, and like I go into myself. And so I'm really learning to like find my power and like still hold my ground, but it's challenging.
I don't know, it's ugly. I'm mad at everything. I'm mad at not understanding things. I'm mad at the things that happened to me. I'm mad that I feel like I haven't completely healed, and even though it's a sabotaging period, so I feel like I haven't done as much work, but I really have. I'm just angry at so much. So I feel I self-sabotage because it's just a whole kind of like vicious cycle of, I don't know. I think it's just a way of me working through of trying to get better. So I think this self-sabotaging part has a huge part of like not disliking myself, but just feeling like I don't know why I'm still here. Like why it's like 8 years later, 10 years later, whatever it is. And I find myself like, wow, I'm still back here kind of crying for myself when I thought I worked through this. And here I am again in the spot. And then I look at other people, especially social media. I'll look at that and I'm like, well, why are they so fucking happy? Like, why? Okay, you're healing, I'm healing. Why am I in this point? But it's just forgiveness for yourself and patience and compassion for yourself. So yeah, I think I self-sabotage because I need, it's just a cycle to get to my happiness or to get to a better spot. I think I need to dump some stuff. And that's just a part of dumping, I guess.
Yes, I also agree with Sonia that there is this sense of frustration and like feeling like you're behind and get set back, further than others. And then you do like for me, the way I kind of see it is like there's no one else around for me to take it out on. So I take it out on myself. It's like I have all this anger, I have all this frustration. Like I can't take it out on my abuser, and I can't really take it out on the people who are affecting me now because it may not be their actual fault, you know? And so then it's like I just suck it back in, and I become my own punching bag. And that is true. It's like you feel so helpless or exhausted, and then it is like, you know, who else can I take this out on? And what I did realize was it does equate to me that there was a lot of self-hatred after my abuse that I wasn't conscious of. I was just like I said, I didn't matter at that time. And so it taught me like I really don't matter, and like I don't belong here, you know, like there's nothing like for me to exist. It's like why, you know? And so I've really had to break out of that belief and like false thought about myself. And so when that does show up, it's like that's why I do it, is because I kind of cycle back, like you were saying, into that trauma state. And like it's hard to get out of it. It's so weird. Like yeah, like it's been so many years, like why am I back here in this place of feeling powerless or whatever? And it sucks, you know, because we do try really hard. And I think people on the outside may, I don't know, maybe it's like my own self criticism, but I do feel like people question like why are you so far behind yourself, you know? Like they look at me and they're like, oh, why haven't you done this, or why don't you just do this, or why don't you do that? And I'm like, I want to, and I have tried, but I just can't quite move forward as well as other people. And what is the word someone said to me recently? Like the functioning, like it's hard to function sometimes. And so that comes down to like me choosing to do things for myself, but it's just hard to make that choice for myself, like caring enough about myself to make the best choices. Um, yeah, because of just self-love. And so when I do practice it, I see the difference now. Before it was like this really hazy, like auto like numbness. But now I do have a little more awareness around it. So I try not to let myself stay in that place. So yeah, Sonia, you know, we have made progress, and it's like we have to acknowledge those moments, because then you know, it helps to keep going.
When I catch myself self-sabotaging, I start doing things that make me feel better. So like music's a huge part of it. I'll listen to music. I talk to someone that's a close friend. Usually a survivor is better for me because it's easier for me to say how I'm feeling to a fellow survivor opposed to like someone that hasn't gone through this kind of stuff, because they're more like, oh, you know, just pick it up and do this and you'll be okay. And you know, it's like really hard to like go through your self-sabotaging and how you're feeling, and then someone's just telling you, oh, just do this. And if it was that easy, I would have done it. So it's just easier to talk to a survivor because they're more comforting. They're more like, I understand what you're going through. Take your time. You can vent. You're not being judged. You know, like there's no wrong or right answer. I like to cook. I like to just keep myself. I write my goals down so I can see where I can focus myself more to like get myself going more. But it's just self-sabotage. For me, I just feel like I'm like a troll stuck under a bridge. So like, even when my friends ask me like, how you doing? I'm a troll right now, you know, like I'll be fine in a few days, you know, like, so it's nice to communicate, to get it out, to do things that make you feel good. Like I said, with music, I like food. I like cooking. I'm not sure if I should say this or not, but I do enjoy smoking a good joint. So that helps me relax too. So yeah.
So when I notice it, I do try to talk to anyone that like I can trust. More like therapy. I try to stick with a therapist that I can really work with. But if I don't have anyone around, I'll talk to a friend or family that I know has the capacity for it. Kind of like what you're saying is like if they're not a survivor, if they haven't experienced it, it's really hard to communicate the depth of the struggle and be supported where you're not like just on the surface told like just go do something else or stop thinking about it. And it's like if I could stop I would, like you said, right? And I do like how you described it, like I'm a troll under a bridge. Yeah, there are points where I do get just in my funk is kind of what I would call it, and I just have to be okay with that for a little bit. And I'm still learning like how much to let myself feel or not feel, because a lot of my life I just didn't pay attention to my emotions, or I suppressed them. So now that I'm actually expressing, it's kind of confusing to me, like how long I should stay in something. But I know it's happening. And so I try to talk about it to someone and like figure out how should I deal with this? So it's still a work in progress, but the talking part is the most important for me. Like I used to not have hobbies, and that was a big thing. That was kind of that was a form of self-sabotage. I would work so much, and I had a family. I just recently got divorced, and for like almost 10 years, my focus was my family. I had a stepdaughter, have a stepdaughter, but that was like my primary attention. And so it was just work, family. I have a business, and I never did things that were fun that gave me like moments of joy. And so now I'm really trying to be conscious of, I roller skate. I love the feeling of like gliding and like flowing in the wind or the air in a room. So roller skating really helps me get out of the like feeling of tenseness. I've been like moving my body more. There was a lot of times where I felt like I was in mud, like my body felt very heavy and like ugh. And so now I try to like shake it out or dance. And there was one time like recently I was very anxious and I just like was like dancing, kind of just shaking myself, and I started crying because I was like so full of this energy, and it helped. Like it helped me get it out. So that's something I've been practicing more. And music is good sometimes. Sometimes it can actually trigger me because so emotional with people and the types of music that they do that I pay attention to words too much and I get sucked into it. So I have been listening to music that is instrumental and is like upbeat, kind of like chill tempos, kind of like a lounge, kind of like a hookah lounge type of vibe where it's like you're bumping, but you're not really listening to words. So it's kind of like techno vibes, like chill techno. That has really given me just something to groove to, but not have like emotional words. So that's been helpful when I notice I'm in a state.
Um, I think I keep myself sabotaging in check by staying with my goals. Like I do paint homes for survivors of domestic violence and their children and their families. So doing that has actually been like a huge healing avenue for me. Like I could feel like I'm about to get in a funk, which doesn't come around too often, but I can feel when it's coming. But because I've committed to doing this, it makes me get up and go into a home and get this done. And when I'm in there, it's just when I'm done painting or I'm bringing food or furniture or whatever they need and they come out and they appreciate it, it's a level of appreciation that I can't put into words, but it keeps me in check. Like, okay, Sonia, you've gotten this far, like look what you're doing. So it deters me from self-sabotaging. So definitely something I would say like a passion, a hobby, something that's true to you is something that I find keeps me away from giving into it.
All right, that's excellent, Sonia. Yeah, having something to be committed to is it's interesting. I have two small dogs, and they have to go walk outside. They're not like indoor peeing dogs, so I have to take them outside, and that actually gets me out. You know, sometimes I work from home or do things at home all day, and I would not go outside unless I had to. And so that actually has helped me get out of certain moments where I feel like I'm letting myself down, or not doing as much as I could do, letting myself kind of be in this like, I'm not gonna really do too much today, but then I have to get up, and then I have a little more energy because I get some sunlight. There's some trees and nature around where I live right now with my mom, and that like breathing in the fresh air helps remind me, to appreciate the beauty of life, and to slow down. I even though I kind of like get stuck sometimes, my mind moves really quickly. I'm thinking too much, right? Like overthinking, and so then I just get like frozen in this like I need to do everything, but I can't do anything. And so that helps me get out. My dogs, having a passion for sure. I have a few businesses that I've been working on. I have a lifestyle clothing, but also accessories and home goods brand that I did a few years ago. I stopped because I was like too emotionally taxed with life, but now I'm bringing it back, and it's like motivational designs and things that can inspire you and others while you're wearing them or using them. It's called Fitted Tomboy. And I'm sure Kelly might share it at some point, but that helps me keep motivated because it is something that I enjoy doing. I like creating designs, and like I have fun. I can get so immersed into it that I'm like, oh, this feels good, so doing something that makes me feel good about myself, that's like true, like my authentic, because I've tried to work at certain jobs and do things, and be in relationships that didn't work. And so what would happen is that I would get sucked into like being okay with not being okay. And so I have to find awareness now when I'm in those moments where like I'm letting someone else's energy like determine how I'm feeling or like what I'm doing. Cause yeah, that would really be this like I didn't know myself enough, so I would just follow the energy of everyone around me. And so now when I catch myself like, is that really what I want to do? I really decide like, no, that's not my like how I would want to do this, or what I want to do right now. And like saying no to things or saying yes to things that I really want, is how I catch myself from just like self-sacrificing, self-sabotaging the things that I really want or need. So just that awareness for sure.